Olá, boa noite. Nossas boas-vindas a todos que estão marcando presença na 23ª edição do Congresso Internacional de Educação da LBV. É com grande alegria que recebemos vocês, assim, à distância, online, mas não de uma forma não menos afetuosa. E por isso, para iniciar o nosso evento, tem 3 dias de duração e todos os dias, com grande alegria, estaremos juntos e nós queremos dedicar ao coração de todos vocês esta saudação de paz e fraternidade que desde os primórdios da LBV, na década de 1940, abre todas as atividades da instituição. É uma saudação que une a todos nós, independente das nossas tradições religiosas, ou mesmo quem não tem tradição religiosa, mas que une o que há de melhor nas criaturas. E é assim que nós iniciamos com esta saudação de paz, de amor fraterno e ecumenismo da Legião da Boa Vontade. Deus está presente. Viva Jesus em nossos corações para sempre. Estamos iniciando então hoje o nosso evento de forma online e nós não podemos nos esquecer que apesar desta alegria que nós estamos aqui junto compartilhando, nós estamos enfrentando um momento ainda muito desafiador no nosso país. Por isso, nesse momento, nós convidamos a todos para um instante de silêncio, em respeito a todas as famílias, todos os pacientes que nesse momento enfrentam a Covid-19, assim como a todos os familiares, profissionais da saúde, que por motivos diversos nesse momento também enfrentam seus lutos. E nós queremos que você, amigo que está nos acompanhando, educador, que também teve um ente querido, que faleceu por conta desta pandemia, que receba os nossos melhores sentimentos. Hoje, no nosso país, nós confirmamos mais de 514 mil mortes. E nós, nesse momento, queremos dedicar a todas essas famílias brasileiras que vivem o luto os nossos melhores sentimentos. Vamos então ao instante de silêncio com Jesus, o Cristo ecumênico, o divino estadista. E continuamos nesta ambiência, alimentando o nosso coração, a nossa alma, para tantos aprendizados que vamos construir ao longo desses dias. E nós informamos que esse evento está sendo transmitido em 4 idiomas: português, inglês, espanhol e em Libras, a língua brasileira de sinais. Nós temos pessoas de 17 países participando desse encontro, um momento especial e que nós queremos que você também conte o que você está achando, mande pra gente aqui no chat de conversas as suas opiniões, fale de que cidade você está acompanhando a gente e um pedido especial. Se você for postar nas redes sociais que está participando do evento, não esqueça de marcar LBV Brasil, @LBV Brasil no Instagram, poste a sua foto, marque também essa presença pelas redes sociais, marcando a LBV no seu perfil. E nós vamos agora então para dar início às atividades desse evento, que tem como tema Estratégias para aulas remotas, tecnologia, jogos e inclusão. Uma visão além do intelecto. Para dar início, então, às atividades, vamos receber a professora Sueli Perioto, superintendente da área educacional da Legião da Boa Vontade. Professora Sueli, seja bem-vinda, Deus está presente.
Boa noite, viva Jesus em nossos corações para sempre. É uma alegria estar aqui neste momento em que nós damos início a esse congresso e saudamos todos os congressistas, aqueles que atenderam à chamada da Legião da Boa Vontade, vão compartilhar momentos muito interessantes nessas 3 noites significativas. Nós saudamos então nessa proposta do educador Paiva Neto de criar esse congresso unindo aí educadores de todos os locais. Nós falamos agora de 17 países, saudamos todos aqueles que desejam, inclusive neste momento de pandemia, melhorar as estratégias, acrescentar as experiências que deram certo na Legião da Boa Vontade e que vocês vão ouvir nessas 3 noites. Os nossos palestrantes, para eles o nosso agradecimento, o nosso reconhecimento, a toda a mídia que apoiou a Legião da Boa Vontade. Nós ficamos sensibilizados pelo número de divulgações. Então, a mídia falada, a mídia escrita, a mídia televisionada, enfim, todos aqueles que abriram seus espaços, a nossa gratidão. Aos colaboradores da Legião da Boa Vontade, aqueles que falam sim quando a LBV liga, que nos atendem, que nos ajudem, vocês são responsáveis por tudo que verão aqui. A experiência da rede de ensino da LBV e também dos centros comunitários de assistência social da nossa instituição e também dos nossos abrigos para idosos. São 82 unidades, um trabalho maravilhoso que nós tentamos reunir aqui, inclusive, nas práticas pedagógicas que nós vamos apresentar, envolvendo mais ou menos 40 profissionais das nossas escolas. Vocês conhecerão um pouco mais da pedagogia do afeto, da pedagogia do cidadão ecumênico, a proposta do educador Paiva Neto, que nos fala de uma visão além do intelecto. Foi por causa dessa visão além do intelecto que nós não tivemos evasão escolar no ano passado, um ano atípico de desafios e que nós conseguimos então unir todos os esforços para que fosse um sucesso, para que os nossos estudantes pudessem garantir a alimentação, porque receberam alimentação durante todo esse período que ficaram em casa, receberam também todo o suporte físico, espiritual, emocional para as questões da saúde mental. Muito obrigada a todos vocês que nos acompanham. Na quarta-feira traremos a palestra da pedagogia da LBV. Hoje temos coisas lindas pela frente e amanhã também.
Nosso agradecimento à professora Sueli Perioto, superintendente da área educacional da Legião da Boa Vontade. Você vai vê-la outras vezes aqui ao longo do evento. E nós vamos agora dar início a esta sessão solene de abertura desse evento, porque não é online, é diferente, mas não deixa de ser um momento importante. Nós vamos acompanhar então agora as palavras do Nicolas de Paiva, que vai representar agora o diretor-presidente da Legião da Boa Vontade, José de Paiva Neto, trazendo boas-vindas a você que está nos acompanhando.
Nossa saudação a todos. É uma honra representar o diretor-presidente da Legião da Boa Vontade, José de Paiva Neto, e também meu avô, nesta ocasião tão especial, em que a LBV está promovendo a 23ª edição de seu Congresso Internacional de Educação. Nossa saudação de paz e boas-vindas a todos e a todas que estão acompanhando esta transmissão pela internet em várias partes do mundo. Gostaria também de transmitir a nossa solidariedade a todas as famílias que passam por momentos difíceis com esta pandemia do novo coronavírus e desejar que a vibração fraterna deste evento e de todos os profissionais aqui envolvidos chegue ao coração de todos vocês. Em razão da necessidade de mantermos o distanciamento social por conta da Covid-19, este congresso, pelo segundo ano, ocorre virtualmente. Mas queremos que vocês se sintam abraçados e parte dessa grande família Legião da Boa Vontade. Temos certeza de que teremos dias de muito aprendizado com as palestras de renomados especialistas e as experiências das boas práticas pedagógicas que serão compartilhadas pelos profissionais da LBV, com o olhar direcionado às estratégias para aulas remotas, tecnologia, jogos e inclusão, uma visão além do intelecto. Por sinal, esse é o tema de nosso evento, que vai sugerir diversificados caminhos em apoio aos dedicados profissionais que estão na linha de frente da educação no Brasil e no mundo. Dada a importância desse encontro, trago à reflexão um trecho do artigo Ciência, Tecnologia, Paz, de autoria do escritor Paiva Neto, o propositor deste congresso e criador da linha educacional que direciona todas as ações da LBV. Abre aspas. Sem o sentido de fraternidade ecumênica, acabaríamos com o planeta, mantendo nossos cérebros brilhantes, mas os corações opacos. A almejada reforma da sociedade não virá em sua plenitude se o espírito do cidadão ou cidadã não for levado em alta conta. O mundo precisa de progresso, sim e sempre, que lhe dê pão e estudo. Todavia, necessita igualmente do indispensável alimento do amor e, por conseguinte, do respeito. A solidariedade, a generosidade e a fraternidade são justamente combustíveis que motivam a ação diligente de todos os atores sociais e idealistas da comunidade internacional. Se a tecnologia, pois, supera as barreiras humanas, a internet é um exemplo disso, é fundamental que a solidariedade se desenvolva à sua frente, a fim de iluminar-lhe os caminhos. Nunca estivemos em momento mais auspicioso para demonstrar quão potencialmente grandes são as possibilidades de usá-la a serviço dos povos. Fechar aspas. Nossa esperança, proveniente do amor do Cristo, é que a ciência, a tecnologia, a solidariedade e a fraternidade ecumênica possam caminhar juntas em prol da expansão do conhecimento e na transformação da sociedade pela educação de crianças e jovens. Nosso muito obrigado e que todos tenham um excelente congresso.
Nicolas de Paiva, representando o diretor-presidente da Legião da Boa Vontade, José de Paiva Neto. E como também é tradição no nosso evento, agora nós vamos ter música. Convidamos você para acompanhar uma apresentação cultural que foi especialmente realizada para esse encontro. Nós vamos acompanhar a música Divertimento número 1, música de Paiva Neto, arranjo de Darcy Augusto Malheiros, adaptação de Wellington Gonçalves e a interpretação é da Banda Infanto Juvenil Boa Vontade, que é composta por alunos e ex-alunos do Instituto de Educação José de Paiva Neto em São Paulo, capital. A regência é do Danilo do Nascimento e a edição deste vídeo foi feita pelo aluno e instrumentista da banda, Henrique Pedra. Acompanhamos o Divertimento número 1, música de Paiva Neto, arranjo de Darcy Augusto Malheiros, adaptação de Wellington Gonçalves.
Music from José de Paiva Neto with Wellington Gonçalves, interpreted by the Infanto Juvenil Band from LGW, from the Institute José de Paiva Neto Education Center. And would like to headline the students being here with these musical activities, which is so important in all the LGW schools. We're going to have like many participations from the families and those children. And I would like to highlight here, since the beginning of the pandemic, LGW is helping beyond what was expected, looking for every family situation. You, teacher, who knows that like learning is affected by many aspects like food, the way the people live, and many things surrounding this. So if you can help those families, you can help us with food, veggies, books, and make sure that those children will be fed. And the parents, they stop eating just that the children can are able to eat. So we would like to these families to have a little bit more. So please donate a little bit of food, a little bit to us, so we can, so that you help us help. You're going to see here on the screen the ways you can help us. You can also access our website, LGW website. We start now going to the first lecture today. I'm going to have straight from Portugal the words from Donalda Baeta, Master in Psychology of Education with specialization and educational needs, Professor, Dr. Honorary in Educational Science and Neuroeducation, psychologist with emphasis in education rehabilitation. And she did this course in Algarve, Portugal. She's going to talk today about the inclusive education practices in the Portuguese schools. Hello, good evening. My name is Donalda Baeta. I'm a professor, doctor, honoris in educational science and neuroscience. And I'm also the head woman in the equipe in the educational, inclusive education. I'm very happy to be here in the 23rd International Congress on Education from LGW. Today I would like to talk about the law that directs education in Portugal that started in 54, which is a document that shows the direction about education here today, which would not be possible for us to act in in a better way. Inclusive education that started in 54 wants to make easier for everybody to take part in the educational process, so that the children and the pupils can be more autonomous and take charge of the education. The positive education sees the school not only a space for few people, but a space for everybody. So everybody have the right to learn with a specific curriculum and adequate to their necessities and their perspectives. So that is possible. We need like a concept that shows the direction as a law. We have to guarantee the access to everybody. How do we do that? We have the profile of the students. This profile shows the student from the moment they start in the school and then to the end of the school process, with like transversal process where you can follow the competences that the student develops every year and each year. After that, we need difference in the curriculum and flexibility in the curriculum to adapt the curriculum to the needs of every student. So do we have options enriching the learning process so that every year we have the least people have to reach. So that this is possible, we have to work in team with the family and different institutions and use different strategies so that we can promote this school process. What is new law, which is just 2 years old, brought new comparing to the old law, which was in power like 18 years. we stopped categorizing students with special needs, so that we attend like children with like different problems and children with like some temporary problems and with definitive problems. We have to adequate the help we give to every student and find the right answer. So we have here like 12 years that the pupil can achieve this curriculum in different areas, fields, not only intellectually, but also in different fields of the behavior and aspects of the human person being. We put focus on the education answer as categories for students. And we like to find the resources for the health and employment and building professional and social security. In this original system, we can then subsidize and support that we can like together converge, that no student stays behind, no student stays without help. The principles of the teachers in this process are equity and equality of opportunities and access to the curriculum in a holistic and universal view with like multi-level intervention so that the students can overcome those levels, and a multidisciplinary team working with those students, helping them find those answers and mobilizing complementary resources. So having a big impact on those educational practices. We have here like collaborative work, multidisciplinary teams working on specific skills. We develop teamwork with different bodies, governmental bodies, and we have to look for organization and reorganization of the resources. When we have now CAA at the center to support learning process, which is a little bit different from the process we had before, where every student can access this support. We have always a teacher in there ready to help any student with informatics or just to answer any question or different problems. We can help also with gastronomy and we work with material recycling. We have like a big range of activities that we can organize and start from this system CAA, and we work those fields where the students need more support. With a partnership we have with all the food we can gather around those schools by teachers or friends and children, we give back through charity institutions on those areas, or we help through the families we have there. We have as well a universal design for learning, where the children should learn through these 12 years. We have also multi-level intervention, so that the children can learn on their own rhythm. We need here a flexible
aprendizagem dessa criança
management of this
e a
curriculum
abordagem vai ser 100% centrada na
so
pessoa,
that
na sua
we can
motivação, nos seus interesses e a
focus on
partir
the
daí
person
é que nós vamos
and
desenvolver todo o processo
see
de ensino
and
e
develop all
aprendizagem
the
da criança.
process
Para
of
tal,
teaching
nós
these
temos
specific children.
um
So
esquema,
that is
digamos,
possible.
piramidal que inclui
We
três
have
tipos de
a
medidas
pyramidal
de resposta
structure
a estes
with
alunos.
three
Portanto, na
uh,
base da pirâmide, portanto,
ways
aquela mais
to answer
alargada,
the
aquela,
children. On the base
digamos,
of the
a que todos
pyramid,
terão acesso,
where
independentemente
everybody is
de
going to have
terem alguma
access,
problemática ou não, daí o ser um estudo
having
de
a problem
caráter
or not,
pontual, transitório, como lhe possamos
where we
chamar.
have like
Portanto, nós temos as medidas universais. Estas
we
medidas
have the
universais
universal
dirigem-se a todos os alunos
um,
e têm como objetivo
attitudes where
promover a
we
aprendizagem e
we
facilitar o
promote
sucesso
the
escolar.
learning
Uma criança
process
pode ter,
in the
por
school,
exemplo, necessidade
where the
durante uma
children
semana, um mês, um período,
can
mas
have some
depois, a
help
seguir, se
during a
surgirem
week, a month,
dificuldades, já
or
não há necessidade, portanto,
learning
já
and
não iremos
checking
aplicar essas
if
ditas
this help
medidas.
has to be in place
Depois
for
temos
these
em
children
termos
as much as
intermédios as medidas
it,
seletivas,
they need or not.
portanto, estas são um
We have
pouco
those
mais
selective
restritas, digamos assim,
measures
dirigem-se a alunos que
where
evidenciem
not
necessidades
everybody has
subsequentes
access.
à
For
aprendizagem
these
que não
are
foram superadas nas
policies
medidas
for
universais.
children
Ou
who
seja,
has
elas
more special
necessitam
needs that
de
were not like met
um
on the first
investimento
level
maior
of this
e as
pyramid,
medidas que
so
nós
that
vamos
we can
aplicar
invest
já
more
implicam
on
uma
these children
diferenciação maior
and
em
we have
termos
a
ou de
bigger
conteúdo ou em
differentiation,
termos de intervenção.
different
No topo da
content and
pirâmide,
different ways of
portanto, temos as
intervention
medidas adicionais.
intervening.
Aqui sim,
And
nós
then we have
falamos de
like the on
alunos
the
com
top of the
problemáticas mais
pyramid
sérias, por
pyramid
exemplo, alunos
where
com
children
TEA,
has more
portanto,
special
perturbação do
needs,
espectro do autismo,
any
alunos com
sort of
síndrome de Down,
autism
síndrome de
or
Rett,
Down syndrome,
síndrome de William e outras
different
assim, ou então com graves
psychological
problemas
problems
cognitivos. Portanto,
where
esses
they have
alunos
like
que
cognitive
apresentam
problems.
dificuldades
And
acentuadas
here,
e persistentes,
if
seja ela na
children have
comunicação, na interação,
difficulties,
ou na
long-term
compreensão da
difficulties with
aprendizagem, aí que
interaction or learning
necessitam
process,
de
they are going
medidas
to be
adicionais.
supported
Estas medidas
with
adicionais
additional
implicam que se
measures which
delinee
are
adaptações curriculares
designed
significativas, ou seja,
a
vamos fazer para aquele
special
aluno
curriculum
específico
for
um
those children.
currículo
What
próprio,
can we
um
do for them
currículo facilitador que o leve à
so
aquisição
that we're
das
going to have
aprendizagens,
someone
sendo que este
delegated to
currículo não
help
é
these
segregador,
children with
a
a more
criança
personal
passa
way?
algumas
This
horas com
curriculum
professores de educação
um,
social
spent
específicos que lhes
some
dão
time
as
with some
suas,
specific teachers
as
which
suas
can
disciplinas, digamos assim, e outra
met
parte
the
do currículo.
learning
Eles
process.
continuam a
And
ter o
then
contacto com as
a
máquinas
different
de
aspect
referência.
of this system
Por
is where the
exemplo,
children
eles
then
vão à
stays
turma
with
nas aulas de
the
educação
normal curriculum,
física, nas
with the
aulas de
normal
música, nas
groups.
aulas de
And it's
educação
physical
visual,
education,
nas
music
aulas de ciência,
education,
educação
visual
tecnológica, nas aulas de
education,
cidadania, dentre as
technology,
medidas seletivas. Portanto, nós temos
citizenship
percursos curriculares
lessons.
diferenciados, portanto, são aqueles
So then we
alunos
have
que
like
vão
different curriculum
para os CEFs, os
for
PREVs ou
special
para os
kids
profissionais.
and
Temos
who
adaptações
are going to go
curriculares não
for more technical
significativas.
schools.
Temos
And then we have
apoio
those
psicopedagógico,
adaptation
antecipação e
that are
ajuste
not
das
like
aprendizagens e apoio tutorial.
very special
Portanto, estas são as
and not
medidas
tutorial
intermédias.
support,
Para aqueles alunos,
which
como
are
eu
in the
referi, que são aqueles
middle
alunos que têm
of this system.
problemáticas mais graves,
And
nós
for
temos a
the
hipótese
children
deles
have more
fazerem
serious
o ano por
problems,
disciplinas,
we have
portanto, em
the
vez de fazerem um ano
option
num ano,
that they
podem
can
fazer em
choose
2 ou 3,
the
vão se matriculando por disciplinas.
the subjects that
Adaptações
we'll do in a
curriculares
year, they can do
significativas,
in
que é o
2 or
tal
3
currículo
years.
específico que eu
We
lhe
have
falei.
also the possibility to
Depois
adapt the
temos um
curriculum,
plano individual de
and
transição,
then
que é para aqueles
we have
alunos
the
com
transition
mais de 15
system
que, a partir de um
with
desfecho vocacional, nós começamos
children
a
over
orientar o
the
estágio e
age
a
of
inserção
15
deles no mercado
so
de
that it
trabalho.
can
Temos o
help them to
desenvolvimento de
engage on the
metodologias
work
e
market.
estratégias de ensino estruturado,
For that,
que
we use
é mais
methodologies,
vocacionado para
structured,
alunos com PEA, perturbação do
focus
espectro do autismo, e temos o
on
desenvolvimento de
the
competências de autonomia
issues with
pessoal
the
e
spectrum of
social.
autism
Dando
and
agora um pouco o
development,
exemplo, em
self-development and
termos de
social
acomodações
development.
curriculares, portanto, dentro das medidas
When we look for the
universais, estas acomodações, digamos, vão facilitar, vão permitir o acesso ao currículo de forma mais fácil. Então, nós vamos utilizar diferentes métodos, estratégias, diferentes modalidades de apresentar uma matéria, adaptações na avaliação, de modo que sejam removidas quaisquer barreiras que sirvam de entrave à aprendizagem. Por exemplo, podemos fotocopiar notas, apresentar gráficos, sentar o aluno numa posição diferente para que ele não se distraia com os sons ou com qualquer elemento junto a uma janela, dar-lhe estratégias para gerir o tempo, apresentar post-its, por exemplo, colocar post-its ou lembretes na mesa. As instruções têm que ser muito objetivas, muito claras, e o professor terá sempre que questionar o aluno para certificar de que a criança realmente percebeu. Sempre que necessário também dar pistas visuais, usar cartazes, usar imagens. Também, dependendo do caso, no caso dos miúdos com problemas de baixa visão, os amblíopes, etc. Portanto, adequar o tamanho da letra, ou mesmo até para as crianças com dislexia. Quando necessário, usar os suportes auditivos, sobretudo para os que são surdos ou que têm implante coclear. Manter sempre o feedback e dar um feedback positivo, um feedback corretivo, manter a proximidade com o aluno, estabelecer laços, criar empatia. Se possível, ter um espaço alternativo onde a criança possa em paz concluir qualquer trabalho, seja individual ou em pequeno grupo. Muitas vezes, se for necessário, especialmente com os alunos também com dislexia, requerer as respostas orais em vez de insistir demasiado na escrita, sendo que não invalida que a criança tenha que investir na correção do seu erro e na aquisição
so that
de
children can
metodologias
correct
de
their
escrita.
mistake and they can
E
learn.
também dar-lhes mais tempo também para a conclusão das tarefas.
We can give them more time.
Passando agora a exemplos de medidas seletivas,
Going forward
portanto, nós temos
about the
as
selective
adaptações
measures,
curriculares não
what can we
significativas,
do here?
as ACNS. Estas adaptações são
ASNS,
o quê? Portanto, nós
which
iremos
are some adaptations
introduzir
where
objetivos intermédios que facilitem
we can
a
give some
aquisição dos
measures
objetivos,
middle level
digamos,
so that the
delineados
children
para aquele ano no grosso da
can
sua
have
vida. Ou
access
seja,
what they can learn this
elas
year,
não vão comprometer as aprendizagens previstas nos documentos
so
curriculares, portanto,
they can
nas ordens
focus
emanadas do
on new
Ministério,
stuff
mas
without missing
vai-se
the basic
adaptar ao
curriculum.
nível dos objetivos, dos
And
conteúdos,
then we can
para
adapt
realizar a
for the
sequenciação e
goals and
introdução dos objetivos específicos
prioritize
em termos
some
intermédios.
specific
Vamos introduzir
objectives
objetivos intermédios para
where we can
facilitar a aquisição dos objetivos.
facilitate
Adaptações curriculares
the reaching of
específicas são
those
aquelas mais
goals.
comprometedoras
What we have
que se
here,
situam nas medidas
more children with
adicionais, portanto, são as que eu referi,
more
que eram as que
aggravated
se referem
problems,
a um currículo
we
específico para alunos específicos com
can
problemáticas ou
follow
patologias mais sérias.
and attend
Portanto,
those children with
visam, sobretudo, a autonomia do aluno,
harder pathologies.
motivar o
We
aluno
focus
para
here
a
on the autonomy
aprendizagem e
of the
prepará-lo
pupil,
para a vida ativa, para o relacionamento
not only for learning, for
interpessoal,
the
para
normal life,
bem-estar, para saber ser e para
that
saber
they
fazer.
can
Para
know
tudo
how to
isto, é
behave,
necessário que
and
haja também
so
adaptações
that
no
is
processo de
possible,
avaliação, porque estes
we
alunos,
have to adapt
como
the
eu referi,
evaluation
são alunos
process.
únicos, são alunos específicos que necessitam também
Those
de ser
specific children,
avaliados de
they
forma
need
diferente.
also to be
A avaliação pode ser
tested
feita
in a
através
specific
da
way,
recolha de diversos documentos, pode ser através de portfólio,
so we
pode
can
ser através de cartazes, pode ser
use a
através de gráficos,
portfolio,
pode ser através de inquéritos,
graphics,
entrevistas, registros, áudios, etc.
interviews,
Os
videos,
enunciados,
audio,
dependendo da problemática, por exemplo, se for
depending on
jovens
the
amblíopes
problem to be
ou com
solved,
cegueira, portanto, terão que
or
vir todos
children
ou em
with
braille ou em
vision
tabelas
impaired
ou
problem
usar
or hearing,
o
we can use
DAISY,
different
o
means
programa
to
DAISY,
reach
ouvir as
what
crianças
is their
surdas,
specific
etc.
need.
Se for alunos com surdez,
If we need
portanto, teremos sempre uma
children
intérprete
that
da
with
língua
hearing impairment,
gesto-portuguesa, que vocês chamam
we're going
Libras.
to use
Se necessário, portanto, crianças com
Portuguese Sign
problemas de paralisia
Language,
cerebral
and
ou
children with
outros problemas
brain
neuromusculares ou
paralysis
neuromusculares, portanto, ser
or some
necessário usar
problems
intérpretes, também lhes é facultada essa
muscularity,
oportunidade.
we can
Para
give
os
the proper
alunos
support
disléxicos,
on
nós
those
temos
cases. with students with dyslexia. We have specific documents, which we call like paper A, where we can um, we can research and mark all the mistakes, specific mistakes they make, so that the way they change the grammatical structure and also in the mathematical ways when they are confused about numbers, we are able to map those dyslexical problems in a very specific way. We can document those difficulties then.
Isto vai permitir que qualquer erro que a criança faça, desde que assinalada ali como sendo uma das problemáticas,
marked as one of the problems, the student's grade can never be deducted for the error. Therefore, the student will not be penalized either in terms of phrasing or an error or accentuation, exchanges, additions, etc. As I said, a student with that problem cannot be harmed by an error arising from dyslexia. In more serious cases, for example, in which we have severe dyslexia, may be entitled to have the full text in a separate room. And in terms of dysorthography or dysgraphia, also severe, you may be entitled to have the answer be described or in a separate room so as to not disturb colleagues. For students who have attention deficit, for instance, and they have ASD or Asperger, a lighter issue. If necessary, they have more time to maybe they have more 15 minutes, 30 or 45 minutes, whichever is requested. They're also maybe a child who has health problems and needs a supervised break to take medication. In case they're diabetic, for instance, they have to eat in the middle of the test, so they have the right to leave the room. They can eat and return, and the time is not deducted. And of course, in specific cases, we can help this student in a specific way. So how can those students progress? So let's begin. Let's talk about that. This is done via certificates. So students who do not have serious problems or serious pathologies, they are evaluated according to their peers, following the evaluation system that is enforced in the law regarding the other students. So those who had the additional measures at the top of the pyramid, the ones with more serious issues, by the end of the 12 years of schooling, they'll be certified. This means that, in other words, they will receive a diploma certificate where we will list all the skills they have acquired along those years and all the subjects they had and the level at which they are, their conditions. So that means that they're going to be, for instance, at the level of basic education, secondary education, professional education, they're going to be categorized. They will have a certain amount of credits, and those credits will allow them to take a course, be it in a private institution, in order to continue studying, or maybe students that can go to university and take courses, technical courses, for instance, or higher level courses, and they will have the chance to be in interns, and in many cases, they will end up working there. Regarding identifier processes, let's talk about the measures. Any child who starts to show any difficulty in terms of learning, so this should be, of course, detected as early as possible, and this should be, of course, referred to as early as possible, so that this child is able to recover and can undergo intervention process that is done as quickly as possible. According to the Portuguese law, this can be done to all children. They can be a guardian, for instance, they can be a family doctor, a pediatrician, a therapist, a teacher. I mean, anyone who sees that child at the moment that he or she needs help. So they have to fill out the document that we call the EMAEI, the Multi-Disciplinary Support Team for Inclusive Education. And this document, we're going to list all these struggles, all the difficulties that a child has, and we're going to ask them to attach that document to the process. So a kind of portfolio is going to be created, and we evidence that in concrete ways shed some light on the child's difficulties. After that, this process is sent to the school secretariat, which will be received by the principal. The principal analyzes it, signs it, and then gives his or her opinion, sends it to the multidisciplinary team, and the team is made up of 6 members. They will get together and analyze the entire process related to this child or young person in order to provide the most complete answer possible, the most simple answer possible. So according to the issue, if we're talking about a child that doesn't have great difficulties and they can be supplied with the so-called universal measures, those broader measures at the base of the pyramid, so we do not need to elaborate any technical pedagogical report. So we just have the formal document, and then we are going to highlight all the universal measures and also the facilitating measure that the child is entitled to. Let's talk about in case a child already has some difficulties, so we can fill out the RTP, and it will be located in selective measures in the middle section of the pyramid. So we, in any case we have a more complex case, a more serious pathology, so the child or the young person will go through additional measures at the top of the pyramid. So we're going to elaborate an RTP and a PEE, an individual educational program. After this process is completed, and after the education process is completed, parents, guardians, caregivers, they will have 5 days to go to school and sign and show their consent. From there on, the documents sent to the pedagogical institution, pedagogical body. One of the bodies is part of the Ministry of School, and is going to be signed by the principal with the consent of those 6 elements that were present in the pedagogical council. Regarding the multidisciplinary team, we have 6 permanent members, a person that is representing the management body, a special education teacher, 3 members of the pedagogical council, a psychologist as well, and I will be one of the people. I'm the coordinator not only of the multidisciplinary inclusive education team, but also the inclusive education department. And in addition to that, in addition to this fixed team, we can invite people that are responsible for education as well. For instance, a psychologist that does not work at school, and this, in case, we can also have a therapist, a doctor, a nurse, and depending on the case, we can invite people who may be part of that process, as well as the main teacher of the class or of the group, or the principal as well, or other elements that are pertinent. In terms of the technical report, I would say that it is of utmost importance, because it is the document that guides the entire learning process of that person, that child or young person. So in addition to all the clinical, family, academic history, all the important elements for understanding that case will be highlighted in that document. Then we're going to be able to identify the facilitating factors, or maybe factors that could be hindrances to the learning process. We can also identify different contexts and also the inter and intra-individual factors that can support or harm the child's learning process. we can also somehow outline the best way to signal this entire process that is inherent to the technical and pedagogical report, how the learning process will take place, what the measures are going to be, how the assessment is going to be created. So what I'm saying is that everything that will happen from that moment on, that child is going to be registered in that technical pedagogical document. If we talk about the individual educational program, the one that makes reference to a specific curriculum, we're going to integrate all the skills of that learning process. We are going to point out the strategies, and we also prioritize their motivations and also expectations from parents. So what I mean by that is that, in other words, we're going to focus on students' potential in terms of leaving compulsory schooling, aiming at a future in the labor market. So in this program, we have an individual transition plan, which is called PIT, and PIT is created on educational analysis. So PIT is performed as of the age of 15, and this PIT, to that PIT, subjects are going to be attached, subjects connected to topics such as competencies of person with social autonomy, values, expectation from parents as well. So what I mean is that everything that is connected to the future in terms of insertion in the labor market, they will be expressed in this document called the PIT. I've just talked about CAA, which is the Learning Support Center, and this center is open to all students, whether they have serious problems or not, but they will always be there to help people, maybe a teacher who is available to help. And it is also a learning center where we have different resources. We have different computers, different kitchen supplies, we have a mini library. And in terms of support, we know that the process of making a teacher is never over. So we're always evolving, people are always evolving, teachers as well. So that's called continuing training. I would say that I'm a teacher trainer as well. Not only do I train my teachers from an internal perspective, but also by establishing connections to other groups. So I use lots of collaborative work. I warn about the importance of paying attention to factors that enhance learning. I think it's important not to forget the profile of the student. So we have to identify different strategies, methodologies, different materials, among other factors. This new decree, I would say that every 2 years, this decree implies that there should be a monitoring. So we have to create a report to send to higher institutions to account for the evolution of learning. I'm talking about those students that are integrated in the Decree Law 54, what kind of practices that we have, what kind of problems we have, the percentages. So let me give an example. We are the only group in Algarve, in Portugal, that help deaf students. The Ministry of Education, every 5 years, plans to carry out an assessment of the application of the law. And why is that? Because we have assessments which allow us to assess the correct level of the student in terms of their learning skills. And then we have here a cartoon, Charlie Brown. The girl says, "It won't work, we are different." And the boy replies, "Of course it will." And she says, "Why?" And the boy says, "Because you do not complete a puzzle with equal pieces." So what I'm saying is that we are all different and we all complement each other. That's really important. We should have the spirit of helping each other so that we can achieve effective learning and we can have a society that is increasingly healthy. not only from an emotional perspective, but also from a physical and empathical one. Thank you very much for the invitation. Now I'm gonna, you can see my email here on the screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me questions. I'll always be available to talk to you. It was a huge pleasure, and whenever you need my presentation, I'll be always willing to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the first speaker, Donald da Baeta, Master in Psychology and specialized in educational needs, Professor, Doctor, Honor in Educational Science and Neuroeducation, Psychologist with emphasis in education rehabilitation by the Algarve University in Portugal. Talking about inclusive education, practice, pedagogical practice in Portugal schools. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. It's good for us to bring like new views, new ways, sharing this knowledge in many places in the world. We have more things to share, but I would like to remember, take a picture and mark us on Instagram. There's a lot of people there on Instagram. Let's mobilize more people. And you can invite more people to be here with us, to subscribe to this Congress and take part. Go to the LGW website and take part in this Congress. If you're not part of this, please sign up. Starting today. And we would like to make a special invitation for you guys who can use this QR code where you can learn a little bit more about LGW is doing since the beginning of the pandemic, which like no-stop activities in education in the social center from LGW, helping families with like hygienical products, food, and in everything they need so they can stay safe, protecting themselves and taking care of the issues in this moment. You can help those families. Share with us. You can donate anything you want, like food, hygiene products. This moment is important to remember that we are together, and that's make the difference so that we can move forward together. With LGW, we have a big heart full of links that shows the strength of those links. Be part of that the way you want, as much as you want. Be part of this process. Help us, help others. Now we're going for the next talk. And here on this 23rd International Congress on Education, and we have like many students being present on the chat. Now we would like to receive Professor Júlio Furtado, Doctor in Education in University of Havana, Cuba, Master of Education of Rio de Janeiro, consultor, talker, and teacher in post-graduation and in the normal school. He's going to talk about like learning, the school learning on the pandemic.
Olá.
Hello, teachers, educators, here with us on this LGW meeting. Welcome. My name is Júlio Furtado. I speak here from Rio de Janeiro. I would like to invite you guys to think with me in this moment we're going through together. But let's think with focus on the education and how schools are working now, on those times where we have to adapt so much. We have to reconfigure everything in our lives. What we propose now is it's to think about mind, how the school can learn on these pandemic times. I made a little presentation and I'd like to share with you guys. The learning of the school in pandemic times. You guys have there my profile on Instagram. Follow me, and if you want to have this presentation, just go to Instagram. You're going to find on the link on the bio. You can click on this link, and then you're going to find a lot of material that can help many educators and teachers. Please come enjoy. Please go to Instagram and download everything you want there. Let's start this thinking, this minding. What we have to think now, it's about we are in a disruption moment. That has to be clear to everybody. What is it? That is a change that doesn't give any heads up. It just, you cannot like foresee. Things just, we cannot say that we cannot like foresee what the process we have on the pandemic, but in a very fast way things start changing. And in the beginning, people thought that the problem would be only in China, and then it got to Europe, and we thought that the problem would stay only in Europe, would not reach us. And then when they declared pandemic, in February, we had the first cases in Brazil. In March, we had to close all the schools. And those situations, they are imposed in our lives, so that we don't have time to prepare for them. Those disruptions, they bring a scare, a fright, insecurity, as the pandemic brought to us. Those feelings that we still have here with us. I like this image very much, like explaining what pandemic did to us. And in specific with us educators. And this image shows that what we're having now is problems, but we can see that in any situation that we have in our lives where we have like difficulties to adapt, when it's not easy to change, when it's not easy to adapt. We look to this moment and we have to remember that we have an instrument, we have like an ability to face those problems. We don't need to run away from those moments. When we run away from the present, we go to the past or to the future. And that's what I like to say. We cannot like put the past in the present because there's not enough space. And we cannot put the future in the present because it's not going to find space. That's just going to make us tired. And as our friends say, why do I feel so tired? And that's how we feel. That's why we feel like that. Because we try to bring the past to the present, or we try to use the future in the present. We like to think that the present is very important in our lives. That is to teach us, to make us learn things that we can better ourselves, that we can be get always better. The past is not like to point the finger. That's not the point. And the future is something that we have to bring to the present. To get to this future, we have to act on the present. It's a problem to live too much in the past, that can bring us to depression. Imagine if we stay thinking about everything that was before the pandemic, and you bring this past to the present. When you think everything you could have done in 2019, it's not going to change the present now. It's only going to make you tired. Brings nothing. Just it's only going to get you frustrated, make you depressed. And that's what depression brings to us, a little bit of the past. And the future in excess is not already here and make us anxious. Anxiety crisis is always more intense and more present in our lives when we think too much about the future, when we think about when this is going to stop and going to get to the future. We don't know when this is going to change, when this is going to be over, this problem. Some researchers here from Fiocruz in Rio de Janeiro, they told me, teacher, I would like for you not to use the word post-pandemic, because the science doesn't know when we're going to get to this post-pandemic time. We're not going back to the world we had before. And then she laughed a little bit and thought I was playing with words, but she said, no, we don't know how long does vaccines work, how if we're going to have to take those vaccines every 6 months or a year. You should use the word the control of the pandemic. We're only going to get to the end of the pandemic when we can control all the effects of this virus. And we're pretty much in the beginning. We're learning all the time about this virus. So the best would be to call this process a controlled pandemic and not like post-pandemic, because post-pandemic we don't know when it's going to come. And when we talk about like controlled pandemic, we have to think about adaptation, which is keeping all this care, like washing your hands all the time, covering your mouth, using masks. We have to look at the present and think about it and see the present as it is, not being pessimistic. We have to look at the present, dealing the way it is necessary, how much we can do and how much like it's not possible for us to do. We have to face the present as the present. And then we can talk in this context about this theme, what I'm going to talk up to you. What did school learn during the pandemic? Which lessons is the school is going to keep after the pandemic? Are we going to look back and are we going to do the things the way we did in the past? I highlighted 5 changes that I would like to show you guys as a reflection. The first thing school learned is that without a territory, there is no school. With territory, there is no rules. The school learned, and I hope it learned, and it is very clear to us now, that the family has to be engaged with its role on the school education. Even more now with this hybrid system, with the remote schooling system. Family is a very special part in this process. The third thing was, it's about what we do. Teachers during the pandemic, working as a remote educator, made clear that teaching is not like to transfer knowledge. We're talking about that for ages, but the fourth aspect is when we do tests in the school, it's only to make the learning process more active. It's not about this. Evaluation is about formation. It's not about scaling. And the fifth aspect is school has to learn that the most important thing in the school is the relationship between people. And that's the biggest lesson that the school learned on this moment. Let's think a little bit deeper about those aspects. Let's talk about school lost its territory. And losing its territory lost its rules. So we don't have like these collective rules outside of the school space. When we talk about this physical space, when from the school is from the walls to the inside, after the gate, we have very specific rules. And schools knows that. If we have like a square in front of the school, the rules of the school are in effect from the gate to the inside. The square, the kid can take off the uniform. So territory, it's important from the gate inside. We knew that from the beginning, where the rules of the schools work on the school territory. And the school lost it in the pandemic. Where is the school now? Went back to the people's house. And there we have like this private territory. It's not the school as we had it before. We have like lots of children together, a lot of workers that follows the same rules. At home, each home has a different set of rules. And the school went to this very strange territory where the school doesn't get in establishing rules. The school rules doesn't apply to the home environment. And when I could follow some work from some private school and some public school here in the pandemic, and some school try to make the same time people had the school at home, so that people would follow this schedule. And then the problems started. So stop, let's wait. It's not possible. 7 o'clock to be like listening to having the lecture. We have like only one cell phone here in this home. It's not possible for the cell phone to be available for someone to study at 7 o'clock in the morning. And it took time for the school to understand these problems. That was not possible to apply its rules on the students' home. The school had to talk the families, find ways to deal with different students and different realities. In many schools, they learned that the best moment to talk to the students were at 7 o'clock at night. So the parents were there after work and could give some support. Would not be possible in the morning or in the afternoon, because those children from 5 to 7, they don't have enough autonomy to be in front of the computer without the help of the parents, which we had on those live moments. When we look back at it, that happened at the same time, we need the help of the parents there. Then we need this dialogue. It's not possible to establish rules with ease in the people's home. That's the only way this remote school is going to work. When we speak about this puzzle dialogue between family and school. That's the only way to make this system, school system, possible and effective in this moment.
Elas continuam, elas estão lá presentes. Tá? Bom, isso tudo porque quando o menino está na casa dele, ele não é aluno, ele é filho.
Why is it like that?
Tá? Então,
because when
filho,
the pupil is at home,
de filho em aluno. Então,
he is first of all a son. He's not a student, a pupil.
Levanta, bota a camisa.
How is he going to study without t-shirt, laying down? We have to put them on the table. Please go back to the table. Behave yourself. Switch off the TV. We have to do that to the child, to the children. An adult has to do that. It doesn't have to be the parents, but it has to be an adult. One adult has to be the tutor. So the family has to take this part on the school education, on this remote system now. The family has to change the children, their sons, into students. What would be done by the teacher in the school now has to be done by the family. So if you don't have like a proper school territory, we don't have the set of school rules we have at school. And how do you change a son, a daughter in student? We have to put limits. We have to put clear rules, limits, framing, so those children know that they have like two roles at home. Sometimes they are the children and sometimes they are the students. But they have to take those parts inside this different space, which is home. Those three elements, we can help the students through the learning process, schedule, framing, and auto-regulation. That's the way we're going to work with it, like schedule, like every day, same time, follow the rules. Framing, we have to frame this, the child, so we can get to the auto-regulation, autonomy, where the children go to get ready to study by itself. Schedule, framing, and auto-regulation. And school has to have a close relationship to the parents and be clear to help the parents through this process, telling them where they have to work better in this framing, in the schedule, and then we can like start learning and see where are the problems the parents are having, and trying to put this auto-regulation in place. So we are all working together in those processes. We will talk about it in school with parents. And what we learned as well, we have to talk about like the teaching practices. Teaching is not transferring like subjects. We hope it doesn't stay like that forever, but I saw some friends like having trouble trying to and minding how are they going to explain this knowledge, how are they going to transmit this knowledge, how are they going to transfer this content. What we have to do here, we have like to instigate, we have to foster the child to build their own knowledge. Which was really good on this process was to see the way teachers and children start learning together. Some set of rules we have, some set of knowledge we use in the presential school doesn't work in the remote school. We learned the importance of autonomy
dos nossos alunos não serem tão
for
autorais.
the
E
learning
como que a gente
process.
está tendo grande prazer em constatar que alguns alunos têm
And now
autonomia
we see how
suficiente,
good
né,
it is
para
to
encararem aí
see the autonomy some
nosso
students, some
momento remoto
children
do ensino, né?
have
Ou esse momento híbrido, né? O
now
híbrido fica mais fácil quem
on
alguns
this
momentos vai
hybrid
estar ali
learning
junto com o
school
aluno, né,
moment.
presencialmente, então a gente pode ir
So
construindo,
when we are
reconstruindo essa questão.
together
Mas
with
a
the student
autonomia ela é
in
fundamental para a
person,
aprendizagem. E a criança já
it's easier
nasce
to build this
querendo essa
autonomy.
autonomia. A criança já
And
nasce tendendo a querer
we have
fazer
to
tudo
remember that
sozinha.
children, they have the
Mas qual é o nosso
tendency to
papel
be
diante disso, né? Como
autonomous.
pais, mães e
And
educadores
we, as
responsáveis?
parents or educators,
Ir
we have
acompanhando o que a criança está querendo fazer sozinha e ir avaliando o quanto ela já
to
consegue,
follow and see
né? E
what
meio que
the child
simulando as
wants to do
situações, falando, não,
alone
vai lá, pega você,
and
veste a camisa você,
help them on this
calça sua
process,
meia. Não, senhor, vai lá,
helping
tira
them
a roupinha,
fostering
coloca lá no
what they can do
brinquedo,
alone
percebe? Esse
and helping where
desenvolvimento
they
da
need help
autonomia, ele é fundamental,
so that they can
não
be
só em casa,
autonomous.
quanto na escola.
And this is
Né? Na
very important,
escola,
the
a
central point
autonomia
in
se
this
faz
process.
presente na seleção das
The
atividades. Escolha a
autonomy
atividade que
in
ele
the
vai consegue
school
fazer sozinho. E fazer
happens
esse
in the
filtro, né?
choice
E nesse momento isso se tornou fundamental.
of the
E
tasks.
tomara que a
And
escola
this is a very
aprenda a
important
valorizar
key in this
mais o
moment.
desenvolvimento da autonomia
So we can
para que ela
support
possa
this
sim
autonomy
ter um papel
learning
mais
process,
efetivo na formação
that we
aí
can have this as a more
desse
effective
adulto, né, que precisa viver nesse mundo cada vez mais disruptivo, né?
Because we as adults have to live in a more disruptive world. And let me tell you something. Another great learning that the school teaches is that instead of explanation, I would say that we need to value instigation. So what do I mean by prompting students, by teasing students in a good way? So we are teasing students so that something is awakened in those students. So by doing this, by teasing those students instead of explaining so much. So let me ask you something. Why is it colder up in the mountains than compared to the sun? So why doesn't the river stop flowing? You see? So that's so cool. So why do earthquakes happen? And what is the wind? So you see, when you teach students, this of course has to make the boy or the girl reflect upon choices instead of just an explanation, mentioning, for example, something like the wind is related to accumulation of water because you have a difference of atmospheric pressure and the wind and the air is likely to move upward. So we know that the wind is connected to a difference in air pressure. So that's the common explanation that teachers make use at school. So what I'm saying is that I think that schools have to understand that we have to understand that knowledge has to be teased. And when you do this, it becomes more significant. Hybrid teaching is focused on that. You teach students in a positive way. Of course, you develop activities in a remote way, and then you deep dive on those activities based on feedback, and that's it. And we know that learning has to be systemic, systematized, because I would say that we believe that exercises have to be memorized in a certain way. They have to be operations. And the pandemic has taught us that we have to understand that learning has to be systematized. And what is the meaning of that word? So students have to be able to do a task based on what they have learned, based on what they have learned. And this can be built via learning. Maybe word formation, sentence formation. So this is based on discovering the sounds of letters, the connection between the sound and the grapheme, the letter itself.
ele consegue localizar alguma coisa no mapa.
So the student is able to localize something in the map only when he or she understands that the map has a scale, it is a representation of something bigger. So what I'm saying is that we have to prioritize the systematization of learning, and this is really important.
Repito, a prática que a gente conhece há muito tempo porque somos filhos dessa escola.
And it's what I'm saying that we do not do that because we are based on repetition. We divide things into pieces. So let me give an example. What is erosion? What are the kinds of erosion? So when a student looks at a mountain and the student is not able to recognize that phenomenon, the phenomenon of erosion. So what I'm saying is that school has to understand that learning is a different process. It's a process that starts from within. It is not a nice inside-out process. It is an outside-in process because the boy or the girl have to understand the importance of that aspect, of that concept. When he or she learns that, they are able to make effort on learning. And I would say that after the pandemic, the importance of this aspect has increased. Okay, but what is the role of assessment and evaluation at school? How do we assess students? So, do students learn to be evaluated or the other way around? So the right answer is the students are evaluated in order to learn. So we do this, we evaluate students so that we can discover what they have not learned yet in order to plan a class. So what I'm saying is that a learning has to be formative than summative. And unfortunately, I would say that schools are the result of a summative culture. So things are in a hierarchy. So we have the best students separated from the poor students, from the weakest students. And why is that? Why do we have to label students? You see, so the schools have to build this regulatory evaluative trend. And how can this be done? Via diagnostic assessment and informative assessment. So by having this in mind, we can cope with the pandemic. So we are talking about 2020, the year that hasn't ended. And I would say that research shows that it would take us from 2 to 5 years to recover what has been lost because of the pandemic, what was left behind. And because of that, I would say that we have to learn what has happened. Why are people scared? We know that all years are continuous. We have to look back in time and evaluate what the mistakes were and how we can improve this year in order to be a recovering and repairing year. The assessment has to guarantee learning. That's why we taste food. That's why we add salt when we're cooking, when we add some more seasoning, or maybe if it's too salty, we can put a raw potato so that it can pull the salt in time. So what I'm saying that evaluation is important because it has to ensure learning. Last but not least, the fifth learning step, and I really hope that schools have conquered, have developed this item, is the following. I would say that the main element of school is the relationship between people. Lots of research have been asking students and teachers the following question: what do you miss the most from school or at school at those pandemic times? And we have many answers, and those answers lead us to understanding that the main element, what makes a school is the relationship that is built between people. So for example, lack of recess time, that could be a hindrance for students. Students say that they miss the teacher telling them off. So that's a ritual. So in a nutshell, what most characterizes schools are the relationships that are established in them. And once schools understand this, they can reorganize themselves in order to value those relations more, in order to establish closer ties to students. Because let me tell you, those are the ties that are going to create the essence. They are the essence, the core of school, the essence of relationship, And schools have to be aware of that. They have to
essas
develop that
telas, para quem
item.
assim quiser,
As I've
estão
just said,
disponíveis lá no
if
nosso
you are
Instagram,
interested,
que é
if you're interested in those
@prof.julio.furtado.
slides, you can
Sinta-se
find me
convidado a
on
nos acompanhar por lá.
at
E tá aí o
Prof.
link
Julio
também para bio, para
Furtado.
quem não
So
conhece
here
esse
we have
link, ele fica
the
ali
link.
logo na
Here,
capinha,
as
né,
you can
quando você
see,
entra lá no
we have my
Instagram,
name
clica ali e lá
here,
tem vários
and
outros links
on Instagram you
de
can
coisas para
click,
vocês
and there are many
baixarem, tá?
links to other
Inclusive o link
materials.
para essa
They are
palestra hoje é
downloadable.
um pouco mais
And of course, you have the
maior,
link
mais
to this
ampliada, que vocês podem dar uma olhada para
lecture,
encaminhar esse
a more
link
complete
aí
version of
para
this
quem vocês
lecture.
quiserem
Please feel
mandar um
free to
desafio,
download that lecture
dessa
and
palestra, né?
send the link to your
né,
colleagues and
confiável aí para
friends.
que vocês possam assistir quantas vezes quiserem
So you
e
can watch this
repetir
lecture
também,
as
ok?
many times as
Eu quero
possible and send
agradecer
this link to
a
whoever you
LGW
want.
por mais esse
So
convite,
I'm really thankful for LGW
a
for the
nossa
invitation.
participação, né?
It was a
Desejo
pleasure
para
to be part
vocês
of
com
this
essa
session,
frase da
and
Cora
I would
Coralina, que
like
eu
to
adoro. Eu acho que ela meio que
conclude with a
conclui
quote
de uma forma
from
interessante
Cora
essas nossas
Coralina.
reflexões, né?
It's a
A
very
Cora
interesting
Coralina
conclusion
diz: Eu
for our
quero
lecture. She
mais
says,
coragem em minhas
quote,
pernas do que tristeza dos meus
I want
ombros.
more
E
courage
eu acho que essa frase ela
in my
é
legs than
bem legal, né,
sadness
para
in
esse
my
momento que a gente está
shoulders.
vivendo.
I
Eu acho que é
think
tudo que
that
queremos, mais
sentence is
coragem
really
nas nossas
important.
pernas do que
That's what we
tristeza nos
have
nossos
to. We
ombros.
have to have
Que a
more
gente
courage in
possa
our
cada
legs than
dia
sadness in our
traduzir
shoulders.
essa
So
frase nas
by
rotinas
that, I
práticas,
think
né,
that we should
cotidianas,
translate that
que a gente
sentence
está tentando
into
implementar
our
nas nossas
daily
vidas de forma
routines that have to be
disruptiva,
implemented
mas
in our
acima de
daily lives
tudo,
in a
de forma
disruptive way. But
corajosa,
above all,
né?
we
Coragem,
have to
cuidado
be
e
brave.
resiliência. É
We have
isso
to
que
be
vai levar
brave,
a
we have to be
gente
resilient, we have to
adiante,
be
é isso
careful.
que vai fazer
Those are
com
the
que a
three
gente
characteristics that can move
definitivamente
us forward.
ultrapassar todos esses
And
desafios
by
que
doing
estão
this, we can
diante
overcome
de
those
nós.
challenges that are
Ok?
ahead of
Mais uma vez,
us.
obrigado a todos aí pela
So
audiência.
thank you very
Mais
much
uma
once
vez,
again
obrigado à
for
LBV
the
pelo
participation. Thank you
convite
very
e
much,
temos
the
todos
Legion of Goodwill, for the
Deus e
invitation.
fé,
So
né,
now
de que tudo isso vai passar.
let's keep our faith, let's believe in God. We're going to overcome this problem. Bye bye.
Professor Júlio Furtado, pelas palavras.
Thank you very much, Julio
Agradecemos
Furtado, our lovely
agradecimento ao
teacher,
Júlio
professor.
Furtado,
Thank you very
doutor
much,
em
Julio,
educação pela
for your
Universidade de
participation.
Havana, em
PhD
Cuba,
education
mestre em
by the
educação pela
University of
Universidade
Havana in
Federal
Cuba,
do Rio
Master
Grande
in
do Sul,
Education
consultor
by
educacional,
UFRJ,
palestrante, escritor e professor
education
de pós-graduação pelo
advisor,
ensino
and
básico,
also
dividindo conosco
postgraduate
sobre as aprendizagens da escola
professor.
na pandemia.
So
Nós
we
agradecemos a
have just
parceria,
discussed
professora Donalda
what
Baena,
schools can
palestrante
learn
deste
during the
primeiro dia deste
pandemic.
evento,
So
e
thank you very
teremos ainda
much
outras palestras, não
for your
hoje,
presence.
mas
And we're
nós
going to
vamos
have
já
other
iniciar
lectures as
a
well. Not
segunda parte do
today,
nosso encontro com
but
as
we are going to
práticas
have the second
pedagógicas.
part
Daqui
of
a pouco, vamos
our
então às
session
práticas
with the
pedagógicas,
pedagogical
trazendo para
practice. We're going
você que
to
está
have
nos
a look at those
acompanhando
practices
dicas
in a
para o dia a
second.
dia,
So
atividades
we're
que
going to
foram realizadas
discuss
e que podem ser
hints,
levadas também para a
activities
sua realidade.
that were
E nessa
done
hora
and
que a
that can be
atividade
applied to your
ajuda muito
reality,
e você vai
because we
acompanhando
know that
muitas saídas
activities
que
can be
foram
really
buscadas
important
pelos
for
educadores nesse
sure.
período.
And we're going to have a
Mas
look
antes eu
at
quero
different
agradecer alguns
solutions. But
participantes
before
do
we continue, I
congresso que
would
estão
like to
manifestando aqui a sua
say
audiência. Grande
thank you to
abraço para
many
Ivete
people.
Bravo,
We
que está
have
acompanhando a gente, a
Ivete
Ana
Bravo
Lúcia
that
Gomes
is
da
following
Silva,
us, Ana
Marlene
Lucia Gomes
Pereira
da Silva,
Batista, Érica
Marlene
Nogueira
Pereira
Capello,
Batista,
Ana
Erika
Carolina
Nogueira
Quesada
Capello,
e olha
Ana
que
Carolina
participação
Quesada,
internacional. A Wanda
and
Penha,
we
que nos
have
acompanha na
Wanda
província de
Penha,
Chaco, na
international
Argentina, o Wanda, e também o
participant from
Ciro Galego,
Argentina,
que nos
Província de
acompanha
Chaco,
em
and
Cañete
Ciro
Galego,
Galego
espero que seja assim a pronúncia.
that is following
Sejam
us
bem-vindos a
in
todos.
Peru. Thank you very
Lembrando que nós
much
estamos com pessoas de
for
mais
your
de
participation.
17 países
And we
participando
have
desse encontro
people from 17
internacional e isso nos dá
countries
muita alegria.
on the
E nós
23rd
cremos
International
assim
Congress on
em ser
Education.
juntos
We're
os
really
desafios não
happy
são só nossos, não são
because
só
we can
seus que
overcome
estão
those
nos
challenges
acompanhando. E nós queremos
together. We can
promover
share
esse
those
encontro,
challenges,
essa união aqui na
and we want to
Unicamp por ser
promote
um
this
congresso internacional
event on
de
the
educação
23rd
pedagógica. Um
International
abraço
Congress
também
on
para
Education
Vânia
by
Bess, que está
LGW. Thank you very
comentando que as
much,
relações
Vanya Desi.
fortalecem os
They're
vínculos,
saying
aluno-aluno,
relationships
aluno-professor,
strengthening
e é
ties
assim que a
between
gente
teachers and
continua também.
students,
Muito
and
obrigada,
students.
Vânia, pela sua
So
participação.
that's how we
Agora,
can
você,
overcome the
educador que está
problems. Thank you very
acompanhando a
much,
gente,
Vanya.
sabe
So
que
now,
muitos
educators that
desafios
are following
surgiram
us,
nesse momento.
you
E
know that
muitos deles
many
estão
challenges
relacionados
have
ao que
a
acontece em
reason,
casa.
and
Os
many of
pais
them are
nem sempre
related to
sabem o que fazer. Muitas vezes
what
estão no
happens at
trabalho
school. parents do not know what they can do. And of course, sometimes they send messages to coordinators and teachers asking questions, and sometimes they do not know how they can help their kids. So now we are going to talk about questions that have been asked, and those questions are really frequent, and we're going to share those questions and some guidelines, some tips, some answers, so that you can discuss those answers with your families and in order to bring awareness, because we know that families are fundamental to the process, as Professor Julio has just mentioned. Now we're going to have Marisa Santana, teacher, educator at LGW, and then after her, we're going to have Aline Braga from LGW. She's going to answer the questions.
What's the importance on the video lessons during the pandemic? That's a very important question. What's the importance of the video lesson? The teacher, when they want for the student to reach some goal, they plan what are the connections with the real world, where we can visualize those concepts and how the teacher do it. He used those elements to make the student to get to the goal with the teacher. So if the student is going to research something in Google about a subject, the teacher can realize that's not the best way for this age, or what happens then? They have different levels in the same classroom, so to say. So the teacher has to find all those important aspects on the curriculum so that the student can connect this knowledge with their living every day, with their life every day. So if you search for something on the internet, there is no filter. So with the video lesson, the teacher can show all the steps the student has to follow to learn this thing. Let's use the video lesson and let's get connected and let's make it possible for a student to reach the goals. What's the difference between online lessons and remote lessons? Which is the best format? The difference between online lesson and remote lesson is online lesson, it happens in real time. The teacher is here teaching and the student is on the other side following at the same moment. Remote lesson is shared to the student as a video, and then the student access at the moment they want during the day in their schedule at home. But it's not easy to find which one is more effective. It depends on the context. For example, if a family has just one cell phone at home available for 3 children, how this student or these 3 children are going to be able to follow the online lessons at the same time if the lessons are going to happen at the same moment. So it depends very much on the context of this proposal or this lesson. If you are going to choose remote or online lesson, the school look for the children reality. So they are able to make it accessible for all students to reach their goals. So there is going to be variations. On LGW, we use more remote lessons. At some points, with some online lessons, so that we can get together, so we can socialize the kids. So online lessons, they have a few moments so that the families can get organized. So this is going to depend on the reality of the families, which system is better. My child watched the video lesson, but he doesn't get anything. What do I do? Look, follow a video lesson. It's not easy. We have to think when there are things at home that are taking the concentration away from the child, or just like taking them from the lesson. When the child says, I'm not getting anything, let's get
como será uma
together
videoaula para
and
auxiliar os
just like
nossos filhos.
do it
A
together with
gente
the
mostra para o
child,
nosso filho que
so we
ele
can
não está
show
sozinho
to our
e
child
também
that they are not alone,
reforça a responsabilidade, a
and we
necessidade da atenção. E a
show
atenção e a
how important is
responsabilidade são
attention
fundamentais
and
para que o
discipline.
processo de aprendizagem aconteça.
And those
Então, se
are
por um
abilities that
acaso
very
não
important on the
cumprirmos
learning
o que é
process.
previsto
If
no
our
horário,
child
a gente pode
is not following
colaborar de
the
que forma?
content,
Estando
we have to
junto,
take part. We have
auxiliando,
to sit
ou
together.
será
We
que
have to
meu
help.
filho sendo mais velho, mas meu filho está
Or
no 9º ano, é um
my
conteúdo
child,
que
when
eu já
he's
nem lembro.
older,
Sentar do lado,
what can I
talvez eu não
do if
consiga.
I don't
Então,
follow
proporcionar
the
então
thing?
um momento de
Maybe
conexão online com algum
you
colega,
should
fazer contato com os colegas de
find a
sala para
connection
que eles
with
consigam
another
discutir
student
e estudar
so they
juntos,
can
não
get
como
the
se fosse
help,
imposto pelo
or
professor.
another
Claro, pode
friend from the
acontecer
same classroom,
do
so we
jovem, né,
can
do
do
aluno, não compreender bem a
learning
linguagem
process
ou
together.
precisar de uma outra forma
Sometimes
de
the child just
explicação.
doesn't get
Procure o seu
in the way
professor.
it's
O seu
exposed,
professor está disponível para
and
tirar todas as suas dúvidas e buscar
just
outras
get in touch
formas
with the teacher
de ajudá-lo
so
a
they can
chegar naquele
find
nosso
different
aprendizado.
ways
O
to get to
importante
this
é
goal.
não
Important
desistir,
is
né? E
not to
os
give
pais,
up.
claro, que puderem, que tal
And parents,
aproveitar e relembrar
who
conteúdos do
can,
tempo da escola e
they can
colaborar
remember
também
then like those
no
lessons
desenvolvimento e
from
aprendizagem de seu
school
filho.
time and help in the learning process of the child.
Meu agradecimento aqui como mãe,
Thank you
às
very
professoras
much
pelas
as a mother,
orientações da professora Alice
and for
pedagoga da Legião
these
da Boa Vontade, e da professora Maísa
cues and tips
Santana, nesse reforço da importância da
for
família ser orientada.
showing
No momento
how
fácil para essas
important
famílias, e eu sei que
is the
muitos
role of the
muitos
family in
muitos
this
familiares
learning
estão
process
acompanhando,
on
responsáveis
those
pelos
pandemic
alunos,
times.
estão sempre acionando vocês, educadores,
And
a equipe que trabalha em
the
toda a parte
families
administrativa da
which get in
escola.
touch
É
with the
muito importante
educators
para nós.
and
Então,
the
nosso agradecimento a
school,
todos
we
vocês
see
pela
how
dedicação
important
em
is
nos
this
ajudarem para que
teamwork.
nós
So
possamos
we
também auxiliar os
thanks very
nossos
much
filhos.
for the
E
schools
a gente
and
continua
everybody who is
aqui
helping in
nesse
this process.
23º
Let's
Congresso
go
Internacional de
forward on
Educação
the
da LGW,
23rd
compartilhando desses
International
momentos
Congress on
tão
Education,
importantes de atualização e
sharing those
aprendizagem,
moments
principalmente diante de um
where we
desafio como a
reset
pandemia, que
the
nos
learning
colocou a
process
viver
during these
situações e
pandemic
encontrar
challenging
soluções
times,
para situações que
where we
ninguém
were forced
imaginava,
to
para
find
para
solutions
as quais
for
ninguém havia
problems
visto
that
a
nobody
notícia,
could
e nós
foresee,
precisamos encontrar
nobody
medidas
could plan,
efetivas. Aliás,
and we
os
had to
desafios
find
continuam
solutions
aumentando. E nós queremos,
because the
mais uma
challenge
vez,
is still
agradecer
growing, they're
e que
piling
você
up,
conheça todo o trabalho
and
que a
then
Legião da Boa
get in
Vontade tem
touch
desenvolvido
and
ao
follow
longo
what we
desses
have been
muitos
doing
meses de pandemia, quase 2 meses de
those
pandemia
months,
no
these
nosso país,
pandemic
aqui no
months,
Brasil.
more
Milhões de
than a year
pessoas
now
voltaram a
of
viver em
pandemic,
condição de fome,
and
de pobreza, insegurança
a
alimentar,
million of
atingindo
people
milhões de
they are
famílias
in
aqui no Brasil.
social
E nós podemos fazer alguma coisa para melhorar. Nós podemos ajudar essas famílias
problems,
para que
they are
possam
in
ter
hunger,
o arroz, o
and
feijão, a verdura, fazer um bolo para
we
servir
can
para a
help them
família.
to
E a
have some
gente sabe
food
que esses desafios podem
and
acontecer
have some
com a
support
sua
on the
doação.
daily life.
Faça a sua doação. Nós
And
vamos
you can
puder
help in
ajudar,
this process.
mas não deixe
Donate,
de fazer
please,
também a sua
anything you
parte.
have,
Acesse
as much as you can,
www.lgw.org ou
on
aponte agora o
the
seu celular para esse QR Code para
LGW
agradecer a gente.
website,
Todo o evento está
or
na
you can
tela
use the
agora para você poder
QR
ver mais
code
sobre o
here
trabalho da
on the screen
instituição
to
e
learn
também
more
fazer a sua
what we
parte.
do
Nosso muito obrigado
and
desde já.
do
E
your
eu convido
part
para que
on this
continue na
process. Thank you
audiência.
very
A gente vai
much.
agora para a parte
Stay here with
prática de
us,
toda essa conversa.
and now
Aqui a gente tem que
we are
unir
going
sempre
to
essas duas estratégias, é o aprendizado,
we,
a
we would like to
instrumentação
put together
prática
those
nas
two
tarefas do
things
dia, mas agora vamos para a
um,
sala de aula,
on
mesmo que
those
seja virtual,
lectures.
mesmo
Let's
que
go
seja
to
via
the
internet. E nós vamos contar ao
classroom,
longo deste encontro
virtual
com
classroom.
dois educadores que vão
We're going to
conduzir
have
esse
the help of
momento de
two
prática
educators,
pedagógica.
which are
Afinal,
going
nada
to
melhor do que um educador
help
para falar
us,
sobre o dia a
lead
dia de
us through
vocês.
the
Então, nós
process.
vamos receber a
Nothing
professora
better than
Maísa
educator
Evaristo
to
e o
help
professor
you
Rômulo
guys
Romito, que
who
atuam no
teach.
Instituto de
We're going to
Educação
have
do
like
José de
Romulo
Paiva Neto da
Romito,
LBV, na
and
capital paulista,
we
que
teach at
ilustram os primeiros momentos das práticas
LGW
pedagógicas
schools here
da
in
rede de
São
ensino da
Paulo,
região da
and they're
Boa
going to
Vontade,
show what
atuando
they
especialmente
have been
com
doing those
atividades de
days
São Paulo e do Rio de Janeiro.
with activities in São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro.
Olá, pessoal, boa noite. Como vocês estão? Espero que vocês estejam todos bem.
Hello, everyone.
Saúde.
I hope
Bom,
you are
eu sou
really
Rômulo Romito,
happy
professor
and
de
healthy.
geografia no
So my
Instituto
name
de
is
Educação
Romulo
José de
Romito.
Paiva Neto.
I am a geography teacher at the José de Paiva Neto Educational Institute, LGW School in São Paulo, and the people from the Congress organization gave me a task, a very challenging task, to mediate the practices that will be shared with you in those 3 nights. But for obvious reasons, I won't do this alone. I do have a very special partner here. Hello everyone, good evening. Are you okay? Taking care of yourselves? My name is Diana Evaristo, biology teacher. I'm also from LGW Educational Institute in São Paulo, Brazil. And together with teacher Romulo, I'll be here with you at this important education event at the Legion of Goodwill. And we're going to start by bringing you at the LGW's 23rd International Congress on Education, we're going to bring you practices that have been developed by PPH, which is LGW's Boosting Skills program, which was created to support students who present diagnoses that may compromise their development. But on top of that, PPH also offers support to teachers who work with those students. And let me tell you something, I can say from my own experience that the support provided by the PPH is very good, right, Teacher Diana? For sure, Teacher Romulo, PPH opens our horizons when it comes to planning and teaching. Let's get to know some of those practices directly from the professionals from the José de Paiva Neto Educational Center at LGW in the city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We had a technical problem. I know you could not listen to the teacher, but we're going to talk about practices in the Boosting Skills program. And we're going to talk about kids that have been overcoming challenges. They need some special aid. And we're going to bring that video in a second. So since we have some minutes, let me just tell you something. People, you that are watching us, take a picture of you watching the event. But don't be shy, don't get embarrassed. And follow us at Instagram, at LBV Brazil, so you can share your comments, you can make comments, you can share your learning experience about this topic. And during the event, of course, we are going to have so many people, so many new faces watching us. I know that we are distant, but I mean, we are distant, but at the same time, we are not. We are close for sure. So share your presentation as well. And we have our the members of the audience. You can tell us where you're from, the city you're from, the country as well. You can make some comments. And in case you have some questions, please ask those questions in the chat. We can take notes of those questions. And we have Sueli, teacher Sueli, and of course people from the Legion of Goodwill can help you. And we do have a special invitation. If you would like to learn directly from LGW's teachers, you can get in contact with us. You just have to call us you can call us. It is DDD11, São Paulo, Brazil, can call us so that you can, our teachers can help you. So we can talk about the pedagogy of affection and the ecumenical citizen approach that was developed by José de Paiva Neto that brings ecumenical spirituality as a differential for sure. And our students can learn more about that. So you can learn more about the pedagogy, how you can apply this pedagogy to your daily routine, to your schools as well. We also apply the same methodology to our community centers, our social assistance community centers, and this can be applied to all ages. We can awaken those values. And that is, of course, really important. The pandemic has been showing us that education really needs to embrace not only just the contents themselves or traditional training there, but of course we have to imbue values and feelings. So we have to look at the students beyond the intellect, as José de Paiva Neto says. So that's our motto. So it's a vision that goes beyond the intellect. So we have to look at young people and see the challenges they have to face, their needs, in order to overcome and mitigate the impacts that the pandemic has been bringing us, not only in the teaching and learning process, of course, but also in the mental health of those kids and the physical health as well. This also can be applied to families. We know that violence has been increasing at home, and educators have to be aware of that. We have to recognize those calls for help. So we have to have this holistic uh, perspective. It goes beyond the intellect. It invites all educators that uh, they have contact with students at school. So we educators have to go beyond the intellect. So let's emphasize our invitation. So please watch our lectures. So let me just say something else while we are just solving the technical issue. I do have another invitation. You that haven't subscribed to get a certificate, we know that many people do need a certificate for many various reasons. Maybe in your CVs for sure, maybe for university purposes. So we know that that's important. So if you have subscribed to the event, but you want to have the certificate, you have to go back to the page of the event, www.lbv.org.br, Congress of Education, and then you're going to be redirected to the homepage, and you can get the ticket as well. So you're going to subscribe to the event again, but now you're going to choose a different option. You have to choose receiving a certificate option. So by buying that ticket, you can get a certificate. So you can resubscribe to the event. So you can make a different option, and then you can get a certificate so that you can have the certificate and can insert that in the curriculum, show it to your school, because you are interested in continuous teaching and learning, and we know that's of utmost importance. It is a sine qua non condition so that schools and teachers and students and educators as a whole have to be together, especially during the pandemic, not only children and their families, but also other people. So let me just say something. You, that you are a teacher and educator, you have to take care of your health. You also have to bring attention to your well-being if you are undergoing challenges. Talk to your partners, talk to your friends, your colleagues, people that are responsible at your school, your coordinators. Seek help, because we know that right now it's important to keep your body healthy, of course, and your mental health is important. That's why we are emphasizing the importance of health. So now let's make a break, and now we'll be right back just in some minutes, so you can have some water, you can relax a bit, you can take a picture of our event. So please do not go away. We'll be right back at the LGBW's 23rd International Congress on Education. See you.
Olá, pessoal! Estamos de volta, 23º Congresso Internacional de Educação da LBV. Esses minutos foram longos, né? 10
Hours of
minutinhos,
education.
mas a gente
Yeah, it
conseguiu
took us
resolver
some
os
time, 10
problemas. Então vamos
minutes, but we
retomar
have
agora
fixed our
a nossa
technical
conversa.
problems and now we
Agradecemos
are back.
pela compreensão de
Thank you
todos
very
por
much
continuarem
for
junto
staying
conosco
with
nessa
us.
transmissão.
And it's a
Evento à
pleasure to have you
distância online, mas
here.
é ao vivo. Então a
It's a
gente passa algumas
remote
aperreio, a
online
gente não desanima
event.
não e
I know
seguimos
it's
aqui na
tough,
nossa
right? We
conversa.
have
Muito
to
obrigada
overcome
pela
some
companhia de
challenges,
todos.
but thank
E
you
a
very
gente vai
much
então retomar
for
agora desde o começo
being
a
here with
conversa com os
us. So
professores
let's
Diana
start
e
from the very
Rômulo
beginning.
sobre
So
as
we have
práticas
Diana and
pedagógicas,
Romulo,
trazendo
both teachers
especialmente
from
hoje
LGW.
experiências da
So we're
cidade
going to
de São
discuss
Paulo e do
pedagogical
Rio de Janeiro.
practices
Vamos
from
acompanhar.
São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. So let's begin.
Olá, pessoal, boa noite. Como vocês estão?
Hello everyone, good evening. How are
Tudo
you?
bem? E
I
que
hope you are
saúde.
I hope you are fine and
Eu sou Rômulo
healthy.
Romito,
So
professor de
let's begin.
Geografia no
My name
Instituto
is
de
Romulo
Educação José de
Romito,
Paiva Neto,
geography
e
teacher at the
estou
José de
aqui
Paiva
em
Neto
São
Educational
Paulo.
Institute,
E o pessoal da
an
organização do
LGW's
congresso
school in São
me deu
Paulo,
uma
and
tarefa,
the
fazer a
organizers
mediação das
have
práticas
given me a
e
task.
compartilhar
The
com
challenge was
vocês
to mediate the
nessas 3
practices that will be
noites.
shared with you
Mas é claro
in
que não
those
vou fazer isso
3 nights.
sozinho.
But
Tenho
for
um
obvious
certo
reasons,
especial aqui.
won't do this
Oi,
alone. I do
gente,
have a very
boa
special
noite.
partner next
Vocês
to
estão
me.
bem? Se
Hello
cuidando.
everyone, how
Meu
are
nome
you
é Diana
doing? Are you
Evaristo,
taking care of
professora de
yourselves?
biologia, também
I am Diana Evaristo,
aqui da
biology teacher,
LBV.
and also from LGW's
E junto
Education
com o
Institute in
professor
São
Rômulo,
Paulo.
estarei com
And
vocês
together with
neste
teacher
importante evento
Romulo,
de
I'll be
educação da
here
Legião da Boa
at
Vontade.
this important event
Nós
from the
vamos
Legion of
começar
Goodwill.
trazendo nessa primeira noite
So we're going
do
to start by
23º
bringing
Congresso Internacional de
something
Educação
really
da
interesting.
LBV para
LGW's 23rd
práticas
International Congress on
desenvolvidas pelo
Education, we're going to
PPH,
bring
que é o
practices that have been
programa
developed by
LBV Potencializando
PPH,
Habilidades,
which is
que foi criado para
LGW's
apoiar alunos
Boosting
em
Skills
busca de
program that
diagnósticos
was
que
created to
possam
support students who
comprometer o seu
present diagnoses
desempenho.
that may
Mas não é
compromise
só
their
isso.
development.
O PPH
But
também
that's not
oferece
all.
o suporte aos
PPH also
professores
offers
com
supports
esses alunos.
to support the
Posso
teachers who
dizer
work
por
with those
experiência
students.
própria
And let me tell you
que o
something, I can
suporte
say from my
dado
own
pelo
experience
PPH
that the
é
support
muito
provided
bom,
by
não é,
PPH is
Romulo?
Sem dúvidas,
extremely good,
Rômulo.
right, teacher
O
Diana?
PPH
For
abre
sure,
nossas
teacher Romulo,
horizontes na hora
PPH
de
opens
planejar
our
e
horizons
executar as
when it
nossas
comes to
aulas.
planning and
Mas
teaching.
vamos conhecer algumas dessas práticas
Okay, so let's
diretamente
get to
com os
know some of those
profissionais
practices
do Centro de
directly with
Educação
professionals from
José
the
de
José de
Paiva
Paiva
Neto,
Neto
da
Educational
LGW,
Center
na cidade do Rio de
from
Janeiro.
LGW in the city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Esta pergunta nos faz refletir sobre ponto muito específico sobre as
So this
particularidades
question is really important.
educacionais.
So we have to
Então,
think
é nosso
about
objetivo
educational
abordar e
characteristics.
oferecer
So our intention
possibilidades
is to embrace and
cognitiva,
offer opportunities,
afetiva
not only in terms of
motora e
cognition, but also in
social
terms
a
of
crianças e
affection,
adolescentes,
social,
oferecendo a
and
elas
emotional
aquilo que
skills
é
for
direito
young
universal,
children and
a
teenagers. We have
educação.
to offer them a universal right, education.
Mas, para alcançar os objetivos desta
However, in
visão,
order to
é
meet
necessário
the
levar em
objectives,
consideração os aspectos
we have to
emocionais
take into
de cada
account the
sujeito.
emotional aspects
Estratégias
of
e
each
arsenais
individual.
precisam ser constantemente
Strategies and
monitorados
tools have to be
pedagógicas
coherent,
promotoras
have
do
to be
prazer
adapted
e
to
felicidade
the
na
educational
aprendizagem.
practices
E
of
o
pleasure
programa
in
LGW
learning
Boosters
and teaching.
Atividades aqui na
So
cidade do Rio de Janeiro
what
tem
does the
feito
Boosted
para os
Skills
alunos
program
avaliados
from
neste
LGW,
programa
what has the program
somente
been
no
doing for
conhecimento
those
especializado
students in
e no
terms of
individual?
helping those
A
students
resposta
and
está
in online
aqui,
lessons? So
dentro
the
desta
answer
caixa
is
que
here inside
estão
this
encaminhando pelo
box.
apoio de coordenação do
And I'm
PPH
going to
a
send
secretária
this
Quesada.
box to the
Ana
PPH
Carolina, segura
coordinator, Ana
aí!
Carolina Quezada. Ana Carolina, hold this box.
Opa, a caixa está muito pesada.
Yeah,
O
this
que
box is so
será que a
heavy.
Andrea preparou de
What do we have
materiais
inside it?
para
What
os
has
seus
Andrea
alunos?
prepared?
Atendimento
What
educacional
materials
especializado
are here
para
in
o
order
sujeito
to
acometido pelo
help
transtorno do espectro
students
autista
that
e
are
demais
in
necessidades
ACD, with
específicas
ACD
que possam
students and
colaborar
students
para
with
o seu
other
pleno
specific
desenvolvimento?
necessities so that
Olha, eu
they can
preciso
help
contar
them?
uma coisa para
What is inside
vocês.
this
Eu
box? Let
estou
me tell you
muito
something.
curiosa para saber o que tem
I'm
dentro
really curious to know
desta
what we have
caixa.
inside this
E
box.
vocês,
Let's see
também
it.
estão
What
curiosos?
about you?
Vamos
Are you
descobrir
also
juntos.
curious to know what we have inside? Let's find out
Olha,
together.
nós temos uma forma de gelo.
Wow, we have
Nós temos
we have here some ice structure. We have here a water bottle.
Cabide.
We have
Nós temos
a hanger.
potinhos de letras.
We have here a jar with some letters from the alphabet. We have colored sand. And we also have, let's see it, we have a piece of newspaper. Interesting. So, but I mean, what are we going to do with those materials? So now that you have, now that you know the materials that we're going to use, let me ask you something. How can we find ways to strengthening the affective bond in a remote way? Is that possible? So this has been done by using multiple intelligences. So, and they have to be developed. We know that students with ASD have problems in terms of language and social interaction. So it's important to have the strengthening of affective bond in order to establish communication and to keep the student engaged in activities. And it's important to keep them paying attention. So in order to do this, I have used videos depicting the bottom of the ocean for this specific student. So for the second activity, I have a balance from the bottom of the sea. So we know that with those materials, we were going to stimulate the concrete thought from the student. And this student will be able to develop abstract thinking. So I do have another question to ask you. How can we contribute to the stimulation of abstract thinking? How can we do that? So now we have our third activity. It is ice in a box. So the student is going to be invited to stimulate its creativity by becoming a investigator of the bottom of the sea. So we're going to bring materials in order to stimulate the proprioceptive skills of the students, in order to nourish the central nervous system of the student. So I know that I have so many things, but let me tell you something. I think that we should see this in practice with a real student. So now we have our student that has been assisted by the José de Paiva Neto Education Institute from Rio. So here we have the scale. So what are the animals we have here? The octopus and the shark. Okay, let me see it. Yeah, the shark on the left and the octopus on the right. And which one is heavier, the shark or the octopus? The shark. Okay, so what do we have to do? We have to put water in the glass. Okay, so let's get the shark cup. Okay. So it's gonna get heavier. I think so, right? Is it going to be heavier? Let's check. Yeah, release it. So which one is heavier? Compare it to the octopus. So the octopus, yeah, is lighter. Oh yeah. So I'm holding the cup. It is on my hand. So this means that the shark is heavier. Yeah, the shark is heavier. And which one is the lighter? The octopus. Yeah, perfect. So what about the treasures? So the treasures were the letters. Yeah. They were at the bottom of the sea. That's so cool. And what are the letters? Please tell me. What are the letters that you have discovered? Tell me the letters and the words. Tell me. So we have octopus, okay. What about the other one? Whale, dolphin, and bottom of the ocean. That's it. So that's it. So I hope you liked the video and those practices. But before we go, we haven't finished. We still have other activities to be shared. Bruno, teacher Bruno, please hold the box. Thank you very much, Anna. Hello, everyone. So let's see what we have inside this box. Let's have a look at it. So we have a disposable bottle, egg shells, egg boxes. So we have cardboard as well. caps, bottle caps. We have clothespins, beans, a rubber surface. So for people that have kids at home, you can have those little dolls, you see, those toys that can be really helpful for sure. And blocks. So how can we teach math in remote classes by using recyclable materials for students with Down syndrome? Let's have a look at some examples. So we have Boris Baby, subtraction concept using clothespins, division board. So we can learn division by using beans, and division as well. We can use beans, as you can see. We have a geometrical structure to teach geometry, blocks for the concept of multiplication. So division by using cups, the concept of division. Cardboard hands for subtraction. Geometric doll for geometry. Multiplication by using cups, of course, to teach multiplication. A practical tool for division in order to teach the concept of division. And of course, the animal race, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You see, we can do so many things, but let me tell you something. In the beginning, it was really tough for me. Can you imagine by the end of the year, you have planned all your classes for the following year, and after you have done so many things, you have to stop what you had done and you have to reorganize things. And you have to adapt yourself to remote classes. Pretty scary, right? So when we talk about Gabriela Evangelista, our lovely student, it was my first time teaching her because I work with 8th graders and 9th graders. Of course, I knew the student, of course, and the coordinator as well, the teacher that taught her math on 7th grade. It was my very first time with her as a teacher. So since the very beginning, before the bond was created, we had to pause and we had to teach remotely. So imagine teaching classes with the specific concepts that were adapted to this lady, to this girl, and establishing a bond. Really challenging for sure. However, after many challenges and fears, we are able to overcome those
E a
problems.
didáticas
Teacher
satisfatórias
Bruno,
são
and what
ótimas.
about,
Então vamos
and we
assistir?
know that those applied practices are outstanding. Let's have a look. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have, so let me count, 23, 24, 25, 26, 41, 42. So 42 divided by 6 equals to, how many beans we have in the cup, Gabriele? 1, 2, 3. Okay, perfect. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So by using recyclable materials, we can also teach via interests that students have. And thinking about that, I'm going to send something really interesting to Ana Cláudia Monteiro, our lovely teacher from the 4th grade. Here I have, here it is. It's a wonderful box, Teacher Bruno. Oh my God. What do we have inside that box? Is it heavy? Let me check. It is not heavy. Does it make noise? It does. Does it smell? No. So what do we have inside this box? Let's have a look together.
Uau!
Oh,
Que
wow.
isso?
What is
É um
this?
controle de
It's a
videogame.
video game
O que esse
controller.
controle veio fazer aqui?
But why do we have this
Em
controller inside the
nossa
box?
aula? Vamos
How is it
descobrir?
connected to our
O
class?
videogame
Let's find out.
ele é utilizado
Okay, so
como um
video game controllers are used
significativo. Por
as
quê?
a
Porque
significant
através da
resource.
sua
Let me tell you why.
utilização,
Because
a
by
criança vai ter
through
uma
its
aprendizagem
use, the child is
significativa a
going to be
partir
able to
da
learn
sua
in a
área
more
de interesse.
significative way
Mas
because they are
como
interested in the
descobrir a
game.
área de
But
interesse
how
do
can we
aluno?
find out
Você
what
conseguiu
the
descobrir
interests
essa
of
área de
students? So in
interesse?
order to do
O primeiro
this,
ponto é você
the
criar
very
um
first thing that we
vínculo
have to
afetivo
do
com o seu
is to
aluno.
establish an
E
effective
como
bond
criar
with
esse vínculo?
your student.
Nós,
And how
educadores da
can we do
Legião da Boa
this?
Vontade,
So
possuímos
we,
uma
educators
metodologia
from the Legion
de
of
ensino
Goodwill, we
e
have
pedagogia
a
do
very
cérebro,
rich
do
pedagogy,
cérebro,
the
que
pedagogy of
conecta
affection
cada
that
indivíduo
touches
com
upon
amor,
brains
atenção
and
e
hearts of
empatia.
each person with
Quando essa
care and
pedagogia
empathy and
é
love.
aplicada, o seu
And
vínculo afetivo com o seu aluno
so when
é
this pedagogy is
fortalecido.
applied,
O
the
vínculo
effective
afetivo
bond
é
is
uma das
strengthened.
principais
And we know that effective
estratégias de
bonds are one of the
aprendizagem
most
para os
important
alunos que estão
strategies when it
acometidos
comes to
pelo
learning,
transtorno do espectro
especially
autista.
students
E com um
that
vínculo afetivo
have
formado, as
ASD.
estratégias
And after
prontas
this
poderão
effective bond
ser
is created,
concretas,
after the
lúdicas,
strategies are
virtuais
created, they
e
could be
também poderão
playful,
utilizar
concrete,
diversos
visual,
recursos
and
tecnológicos.
we can
Você,
also use
educador,
technical
vai
resources
conseguir
by
oferecer
using
ao
all
seu
those
aluno uma
things. So
aprendizagem
you're going to be able
significativa
to
e
provide
prazerosa.
a
Agora, vocês
significant
conseguem
class.
identificar as possibilidades
So
de
are
conteúdos
you
que
able
você
to
pode
identify the
trabalhar fazendo
possibilities
uso
of
do
contents that can
controle
be
do
used
videogame?
through a
Em
game
língua
controller?
portuguesa, a palavra
So in
controle.
Portuguese,
Vocês
the
conseguem
word
associar algum
controller,
conteúdo?
does it ring a bell? Is it connected
Em
to
como
any concept, any
consonantal,
content? Yeah, it's a consonant
T-R. Podemos
cluster. So
trabalhar
we
a
have
palavra
the
controle
T
em
and
cima desse
R.
conteúdo. Uma
So
outra
we can work with
possibilidade.
consonant
Um
clusters based on
controle
that word.
de quê?
Let's talk about
Um
another
controle de
example. What
videogame.
does
A
this
palavra
control
videogame é um
control? It
substantivo.
controls the game for
Só que dentro
sure.
dessa
We know
palavra
that
nós
video game
encontramos
is a
dois
noun, but
radicais:
inside that
vídeo
word we have
e
two roots. We
game.
have video and
Então,
game.
esse videogame pode ser classificado em
So this
substantivo
video game can
composto.
be classified as a
Então, aí,
compound
nós já
noun.
podemos trabalhar em
So
cima desse
we
controle
can
do
learn
substantivo
two
simples e
aspects, you see?
substantivo
So
composto.
simple
Essa
and
aula foi
compound
oferecida
nouns.
para um aluno
So
acometido
this
pelo
class
transtorno do
was
espectro autista.
taught
A sua área
to
de
a student
interesse
with
é os
ASD.
games.
His
Então, foi
interest
oferecido
area
para
is
ele
games.
jogar
So we
com
provided him games, of
Sonic,
course,
uma
and he played
atividade
with
bem
Sonic.
prazerosa. Ele tinha que
It was a
jogar
very
o
pleasant
jogo do
activity.
Sonic e em
So he was able
seguida
to play
ele
Sonic
tinha
game,
que
and then after that,
identificar o
he
som
had to
que tinha S
identify
como
the
SWIT no
sound
início da palavra.
of the
E
letter
a
S
partir
at the
daí,
beginning of
foi
words. And
trabalhar
from
os
then on,
diferentes sons que a
we were
letra
able to
S
work with
apresenta.
different sounds that the
Começa com
letter
que?
S has in
Teste.
Portuguese. So
E o S, no
Sonic
começo da
starts with the
palavra,
letter
tem o som de
S. Yeah, that's it. And what's the sound of the
E o
letter
S
S?
no
It's a
meio tem o
strong
som
sound.
de
And what about S in the middle of the word?
E o
It sounds like
SS
a
quando
Z.
aparece
And what
como
about
S com seu outro
SS? The
irmão?
double S.
O som é
Forte.
What about its sound? It's a strong sound.
Forte, igual ao
All
Sonic.
of them are strong. They're strong as
Nessa
Sonic, the
aula, a aula foi
character.
proposta ao aluno para baixar
So we
o
proposed,
aplicativo Meu
we
Tom,
asked the
que é
student
um
to
jogo
download
de um
an
gatinho.
app,
E ele tinha
Talking
que
Tom
brincar com o
2,
gatinho no jogo
and
e
he
em
had to play with
seguida
that
ele
cat in
tinha
the
que
game, and then
identificar a
he had to
classificação
identify
do gato de
the
acordo com a sua
classification of the
dieta,
cat
dizendo se ele
according
era
to the
carnívoro,
diet,
herbívoro
if
ou
the cat was herbivore,
omnívoro. E
carnivore,
vocês
or
conseguiram
omnivore.
perceber as
So
possibilidades que foram
as you could notice,
apresentadas
the
a partir da aula de
possibilities that were
teletime.
presented
Nós
to the
conseguimos
student.
trabalhar ciências,
We were
nós
able to
conseguimos
work
trabalhar também
sciences, of
língua
course. We
portuguesa.
were able to work with
Cria um
Portuguese as
novo
well.
afeto,
That
promove
is
um novo
amazing.
aprendizado. Não podia ser
Affection, of
tradicional
course,
essa
can
aula.
promote so
Então,
much
vamos
learning, right,
assistir essa
teacher Ana
prática
Clara?
pedagógica no
So now
ambiente
let's
familiar.
listen and watch this pedagogical practice in the house. So the class was able to focus on the game, which is an area of interest of the boy. So he kept paying attention to the game. Oh, the character has fallen. The content, simple and compound nouns. There is establishment of a link by using the names of the characters. The penguin is falling. The penguins are falling. Socializing the content. Significant content. Promoting happiness and satisfaction. Interest and attention. Where did we go? What are those places? Who traveled with us? Yeah, the characters. Two friends. So everything that we have just watched here in the PPH practices emphasize the importance of the pedagogical environment. It is created and not just simply discovered. And we as educators, we have to bear in mind that no students have to be left behind when we talk about their educational characteristics. So as José Pavaneto says, quote, every day is a day of renewing our destiny, unquote. So with Paivaneto's quote, let me emphasize something. All pedagogical practices have to be enlightened by the scientific evidence, but above all, it has to be enlightened by love.
Very cool, yeah? How much is possible with what we have at home to make a more proper environment for learning for the children? That's what we do in our school network. That's true, teacher Rayana. In the schools here in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, Curitiba, Brasília, São Paulo, and even in Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina. We try to propose this different environment for every children, meeting the complete development of the student. And talk about this look to all the students. We're going to look at a different action now at LGW São Paulo, where we follow some children from high school and before high school. We're not connected, we're not with them, but we are connected to them. Do you know how this connection is made? Let us know. Let's see if you guys guessed. And the name of the action, Connecting Hearts. Solidarity. Enthusiasm. Responsibility. Union. Courage, braveness. Ecumenical spirituality. Connecting hearts. God's present Jesus lives in our hearts forever. Hello, everybody. Missing you guys. Hello, lovely students. Welcome. Remember, we are taking all the care necessary now. Let's talk about an ecumenical spirituality. Let's talk about brotherhood love. and let mind and think about what we can learn in different languages. In thought created by Paiva Neto, the creator of our school. As hard as the winter day can be, the sun always comes back to warm our hearts and souls. Looking forward to think about, are you guys ready? I'm ready here. Yes, we are ready. Let's watch for the first set.
Amizade me faz bem. A minha, alguns têm. Amizade dos livros, essa eu quero achar. Bom amigo, temos que valorizar.
Aqui é onde começa o jogo. As pedras representam os obstáculos que você vai encontrar na sua vida. E
we have
representam os seus amigos que te ajudam a passar por esses obstáculos.
The hammers are your friends who help you guys. It's not easy for everybody. It's nice to have someone here.
Significa a esperança no meio do desespero. Não importa o
We have to think about hope in the middle of despair. We have to keep going forward. Feelings and emotions are part of life. Sometimes we need to fall to be able to rise again. Look, we can make a strong connection between the people who are open for the destiny.
Amizade não combina com a solidão, pois a escola não ensinou a arte da fraternidade. Exibir amor e gratidão são opções, pois estamos unidos pela solidariedade. Seguindo que sentir algum sentimento e emoção nos faz querer prolongar nossa amizade. Sobre a empatia que está no coração, queridos pra sempre essa nossa capacidade.
É uma obra de arte que demanda para ser construída pela própria autenticidade.
Nós vamos fazer uma breve interrupção nessa transmissão dessa prática pedagógica sobre o projeto Conectando Corações na Escola da Legião da Boa Vontade, na capital paulista, o Instituto de Educação José de Paiva Neto. Nós vamos retomar do início dessa prática, mas enquanto isso, eu vou aqui agradecendo...
So we had some technical issues, but let me just say some things regarding the people that are in the audience. Having at a cena, relationships make us more... make us develop more empathy, for sure. We have Santa Regina Solato, educator from the Legion of Goodwill here in São Paulo, Brazil. We also have Sheila Oliveira, and we do have another person, Nini Beth Guerra, from Venezuela. We also have Adriane Rodrigues, and teachers have been so good, so playful, and they do it with love. That's because education is a technique, for sure, because of course teachers have to study so much in order to know how to awaken students' interest, and of course love is involved. We have been working so much in helping adults, kids, teenagers. Education never stops, and that's the homage that we do to our teachers and educators. And let me just say something. I have emphasized that we have 17 countries that are here with us. So let me tell you some of those countries that are here with us. We have Brazil, of course. Our event is taking place in Brazil. We have people from South Africa, Argentina, Bolivia, Canada, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, USA, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Puerto Rico, Portugal, Uruguay, and Venezuela. So you that are watching us, thank you very much welcome to our event. And this is only possible because this event is being broadcast in 4 languages: Portuguese, English, Spanish, and Brazilian Sign Language, Libras. So thank you very much for being here, and please tell us where you're from, the cities where you're from, so that we can share, you can share your love with us. So let me just say something. Let me emphasize that we have a QR code on the screen. Sometimes you have the option to use your cell phone and use a QR code reader, and you're going to be redirected to www.lbv.org, as you can see on the left of your screen, so that you can know ways of collaborating with the Legion of Goodwill. So how we can mobilize the Brazilian society in order to help people that are really vulnerable. We can provide them food and of course, perishable and non-perishable food. We know that people they need rice and beans for sure, but of course we have to have other kinds of food. Rice and beans is expensive in Brazil, but thanks to lots of people, LGW has been offering vegetables, milk, proteins, eggs, meat, and other kinds of food that are of utmost importance for snacks, for lunch, for the breakfast. So this can be, you can help us. You can help us in many ways, of course, regardless of the value. You can contribute to the cost. Our organization, LGW, has been providing solidarity for more than 70 years. And people that are watching us, we can also know what LGW works in Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina. Yeah, so please visit our website and our social media channels, not only in Brazil, but of course, LGW in different countries. The LGW can help you in your challenges. So that's it for now. The pedagogical practice from the Connecting Hearts project is going to be shown tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, but do not worry, we're going to watch this practice. It is a wonderful project that is embracing all students and families, and tomorrow we're going to have one more lecture. So we're going to have a very interesting lecture by Professor Fátima Alves, The Movement, the Intellect, and Affect, the basis of psychomotricity in schools and family in remote classes. And of course, we're going to have other pedagogical practices and questions asked by parents and families. We're going to have a culture presentation. We're going to have lots of things. We're going to have lots of culture tomorrow. And of course, and let me tell you something, we need your participation. That's really important. So you, our participants, please welcome our love. Thank you very much for your participation, for watching us for so many hours. So our event starts at 7:30 p.m. So we'll be together so that you can follow the activities. So that's it. That's the end of the first day. So we have our Legionnaire salute. So thank you very much, our gratitude. So let's say God is present. Jesus lives in our hearts forever. Bye-bye. Good night.